What if the sky itself split open over Kahndaq, not with thunder, but with sunlight, and the world's most feared ruler looked up to see hope descending like a challenge? The night Black Adam felt the air change. It wasn't the familiar warning of invasion or rebellion. It was quieter, wrong. The desert winds slowed as if holding their breath. The stars dimmed as though something brighter was approaching, and even the ancient stones of Kahndaq's temples seemed to remember a prophecy no one had spoken aloud in millennia. High above the capital, clouds parted without lightning, without force peeled open by heat and gravity bending around a single descending figure. Golden light spilled downward, bathing the city in a warmth it had never known. Not the harsh fire of conquest, not the burning wrath of a god-king. Something gentler, more dangerous. Black Adam stood atop his palace balcony, cloak snapping behind him, eyes narrowed. He felt it then, a pressure, not on his body, but on his dominion. Power recognized power. The magic of Shazam surged within him, whispering warnings in ancient tongues. This was not a sorcerer, not a god, not a demon. This was something alien, something impossibly strong, something that did not bow. Miles above, Superman slowed his descent, cape fluttering as he took in the sight below. Kahndaq, a nation scarred by centuries of chains, now ruled by a man the world called a tyrant and a liberator in the same breath. Clark could hear the city's heartbeat, the nervous breaths, the whispered prayers, the fear buried beneath gratitude. He had followed a distortion through space-time, a universe adjacent to his own, vibrating with raw magical energy. He had expected chaos. He had not expected order enforced by thunder. Black Adam, Superman murmured, the name heavy with history. He had never lived but somehow understood. Below, Black Adam leaped. The ground exploded beneath his feet as he shot into the sky like a living bolt. Lightning tearing after him, clouds screaming as they were ripped apart. He stopped inches from Superman's face, suspended in mid-air by nothing but will and power. Two titans hovered above Kahndaq, the city reduced to silence beneath them. You are not from this world, Black Adam said, voice like a tomb ceiling shut. And in this world, all power answers to me. Superman met his gaze, calm but unyielding. I didn't come to take anything from you. I came because something here is tearing at the fabric of reality. People are going to get hurt. Black Adam's eyes flickered not with fear, but with something close to insult. They are already safe, he replied, because I rule. Lightning cracked between them, reacting to the sun's heat pouring off Superman's skin. For a moment, the universe itself seemed unsure which force it should obey. Clark felt it, then the weight of choice. In his world, power was restrained by hope, by trust in others to choose better. But here, peace was held together by fear of one man's wrath. And that man was looking at him not as a fellow protector, but as a threat to order. You protect them by ruling them, Superman said quietly. I protect them by believing in them. Black Adam laughed, a sound that shook the clouds. Belief is a luxury of worlds that have never burned. And then he struck, not as an attack but as a test. A lightning-fast punch that could shatter mountains slammed into Superman's chest. The shockwave flattened rooftops miles below. Superman was thrown back through the sky, stopping himself only by digging his boots into the air itself, astonishment flashing across his face. It had hurt, not enough to wound, but enough to warn. Black Adam hovered there, electricity crawling across his skin like living armor. Now you understand, he said. This world does not need another god pretending to be kind. Superman straightened, sunlight intensifying around him, eyes hardening, not with anger, but resolve. And you don't understand me yet. The air between them began to scream as heat met magic, sunfire clashing with ancient thunder. Somewhere deep beneath Kahndaq, something ancient stirred, drawn awake by the collision of two impossible forces. Neither man noticed it yet. They were too focused on each other. To certain this encounter would end quickly. They were both wrong. The first true blow they exchanged cracked the sky from horizon to horizon, and whatever was awakening below smiled in the dark. What if the very first true clash between Superman and Black Adam wasn't the battle that decided Kahndaq's fate, but the spark that woke something far older, far crueler, and hungry for gods? The impact should have been impossible. When Superman's fist met Black Adam's lightning-wreathed guard, the sound wasn't thunder, it was silence. A vacuum ripped through the sky, swallowing noise, light, even thought for a fraction of a second. Then reality snapped back. The shockwave tore outward like a circular blade, flattening sand dunes, shattering windows, and knocking people to their knees miles away. In the palace below, ancient banners ignited from the sudden heat, curling into ash before they touched the ground. Superman reeled, not from pain but from realization. This wasn't brute strength. This was magic meeting muscle, belief colliding with ancient law. Black Adam didn't fight like a warrior. He fought like a ruler defending a throne written into history itself. Black Adam surged forward, faster than sound, faster than thought. His fists became blurs of divine wrath, each strike infused with the power of gods whose names were etched into forgotten temples. Superman blocked, redirected, absorbed, but with every exchange, he felt it, the magic slipping past his invulnerability, testing him in ways Darkseid never could. Each blow carried judgment, not rage. Adam wasn't trying to kill him, he was trying to prove something. You feel it now, don't you? Black Adam growled as he drove Superman downward, slamming him through layers of cloud toward the desert below. This world does not bend to ideals, it bends to strength. They crashed into the sands outside the city, the desert erupting like an ocean frozen mid-ex. Superman skidded for miles, carving a trench before stopping himself, cape torn, eyes glowing brighter as he rose. He hovered inches above the ground, sand melting into glass beneath him from sheer solar heat. I feel your fear, Superman replied, voice echoing unnaturally. You just don't know it's fear. For the first time, Black Adam hesitated, not because the words struck home, but because something else did. Deep beneath their feet, beneath the bones of old empires and buried tyrants, magic shifted, the kind that didn't answer to Shazam, the kind that remembered a time before gods crowned themselves kings. Superman heard it first, a low vibration crawling through the planet, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. His enhanced senses reached deep into the earth and recoiled. Whatever slept below Kahndaq wasn't alive in any way he understood. It was bound, contained, waiting. You're not just ruling these people, Superman said slowly. You're standing on something. Black Adam's eyes darkened. You know nothing of Kahndaq's sins. Lightning erupted around him as he launched himself upward again, dragging Superman into the sky with a thunderclap that split the horizon. High above, satellites malfunctioned, compasses spun wildly, and magical barriers long forgotten began to fracture. The universe strained to accommodate their power. Black Adam slammed Superman through a floating fortress, one of his own hidden defenses, reducing enchanted stone to dust. This land was enslaved, he shouted, broken, forgotten. I became its wrath because hope failed it. Superman burst from the rubble, heat vision slicing through the clouds, not aimed at Adam, but at the dark energy seeping upward from the ground far below. Alia opened in the desert, glowing faintly with runes older than language. Then why does your world feel like it's screaming? Superman demanded. For a heartbeat, Black Adam followed Superman's gaze. The lightning round him flickered. He felt it now, tooth a pull. The hunger, the thing he had sealed away centuries ago, the price of his absolute rule. He had told himself it was contained, controlled, that his power alone was enough to keep it asleep. The ground split wider, a voice not loud, but vast echoed through the magic of the land, brushing both their minds like cold fingers. To kings, 2 sons, at last. Enough power to break the chains. Black Adam turned slowly toward Superman, something dangerously close to uncertainty in his eyes. This, he said, voice low, is why outsiders die in my world. Below them, ancient seals shattered one by one, and the desert began to rise. What if the thing rising beneath Kahndaq wasn't drawn to Superman or Black Adam alone, but to the idea that gods could finally be killed? Black Adam descended first, boots touching the rising stone as lightning lashed instinctively around him. I buried this with the blood of tyrants, he muttered, more to himself than to Superman. It was never meant to wake again. What is it? Superman asked, lowering beside him, eyes scanning the symbols as his mind raced. He could feel it now, in intelligence spreading outward, tasting the air, cataloging them. Because whatever it is, it's reacting to us. Black Adam's jaw tightened. It is the reason Kahndaq will never kneel again. The final seal shattered. The ground collapsed inward, revealing a vast chamber beneath the desertan abyss, lined with blackened metal and bone-white stone. At its center rose a figure that did not stand, but assembled itself. Armor fused from obsidian plates crawled into place around a towering humanoid shape. Its face was smooth, featureless, save for a single vertical slit that glowed with devouring light. When it spoke, The air curdled. Shazam's mistake, the being intoned, Krypton's echo. How generous the multiverse has become. Superman felt something he hadn't felt since his first encounter with Doomsday. Wrongness that bypassed logic and went straight to instinct. This thing knew him, not Clark Kent, not Superman. Krypton, you're feeding on our power, Superman realized, stepping forward despite every warning in his body. That's why it woke up. The entity tilted its head. I was forged to end gods, it replied. Your presence completes me. Black Adam attacked without hesitation. Lightning slammed into the creature with enough force to vaporize mountains. The blast consumed the chamber in white-hot brilliance. But when it cleared, the being still stood, unmoved, unharmed. The lightning had been absorbed, its glow now pulsing beneath the obsidian armor. Black Adam staggered back, eyes widening for the first time in centuries. It struck him not with a fist, but with a word, a command woven from anti-divine magic. Black Adam was hurled across the chamber, crashing through enchanted stone. The power of Shazam flickering violently within him, as if struggling to stay intact. Superman moved. He crossed the distance in a blink, slamming into the entity with enough force to send them both into the far wall. Heat vision erupted point blank, red-white fury cutting into the armor only to bend, refract, and vanish into the creature's core. Your strength is exquisite, it said calmly, gripping Superman by the throat and lifting him effortlessly. But it was never meant to exist in a world with magic. Superman choked, muscles straining as the creature's grip tightened, not crushing, but draining. Sunlight dimmed around him as his cells screamed in protest. Below them, Black Adam forced himself upright, fury burning hotter than pain. No, Adam growled. You do not touch him. He spoke the word Shazam, and for a heartbeat, the gods answered louder than ever before. Lightning tore through the chamber, ancient, furious, desperate. Black Adam slammed into the creature from behind, driving it off Superman and into the abyss below. The impact shook the continent. Superman collapsed to one knee, breathing hard, staring at his hands as the glow slowly returned. Adam, he said quietly, this thing, it's designed to kill us, together. Black Adam hovered beside him, lightning crackling unevenly. Then we end it, he replied, before it learns how. From the depths of the abyss, laughter rose-layered, distorted, amused. Too late, the voice echoed. I have tasted thunder, now I crave the sun. The ground began to collapse again, and the sky above Kahndaq darkened as if the universe itself was preparing to watch gods fall. What if, the first time, Superman and Black Adam truly fought side by side? Neither of them trusted the other enough to survive what was coming next. The sky above Kahndaq didn't darken like a coming storm. It emptied, clouds evaporated, stars vanished, and even the sun seemed to dim, as if something was siphoning light itself from the heavens. Superman felt it immediately. His strength wavered. Not gone, but strained, like breathing thin air atop a mountain that kept growing taller. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't just feeding on power anymore. It was adapting. The abyss below split wider, and the creature rose again, larger now. Its obsidian armor veined with lightning and glowing solar fractures. It had changed. Where Black Adam's thunder had struck, golden cracks pulsed. Where Superman's heat vision had burned, arcane symbols crawled and rearranged themselves, learning, correcting, perfecting. Black Adam hovered forward, fist clenched, jaw rigid. It steals what it survives, he said. Every god I ever buried made it stronger. That is why it was sealed. That is why I rule alone. Superman glanced at him sharply. You knew this could happen. I knew, Black Adam snapped, that if the world believed in saviors instead of fear, this thing would wake again. The creature's voice rolled across the desert like a funeral chant. Hope, dominion, fear, all flavors of the same delusion. It moved and, this time, Superman barely reacted in time. The entity crossed the distance instantly, slamming him through the air and into the ruins of an ancient temple miles away. Stone folded around Clark's body like wet clay. He forced himself free, pain rippling through him in a way he hated recognizing. But magic had found his weaknesses. Before he could recover, the creature appeared again, striking him downward with a hammering blow that cratered the desert. Superman lay still for half a second too long. Black Adam roared. Lightning fell like judgment itself. He unleashed everything: ancient spells woven into thunder, raw divine fury, the full wrath of Kahndaq's protector. The sky fractured into glowing seams as bolts chained endlessly into the creature, driving it backward step by brutal step. For Kahndaq, Black Adam bellowed, for every soul you would enslave. The creature staggered, then smiled. Its chest split open, revealing a core blazing with stolen sunlight. It caught the lightning, folded it inward, and released it back as something twisted. The blast hurled Black Adam through the air, slamming him into the palace he had built with blood and iron. The structure collapsed around him, burying him beneath shattered stone and broken symbols of rule. Superman forced himself up, rage flaring not wild, but focused. He rose higher, higher than before, chasing what little sunlight remained, drawing it into himself until the air burned around him. The clouds ignited, the sky turned gold. "Adam," he said through the calm, unsure if Black Adam could even hear him. "If we keep fighting it separately, it wins." From the rubble, Black Adam emerged slowly, bruised, lightning flickering weakly across his skin. He looked up at Superman, not with hatred, not with challenge, but calculation. "You want trust," Black Adam said. "In a world that taught me, it gets people killed." The creature watched them both, arms spreading wide as the ground trembled. "Choose," it whispered, "king or savior, thunder or sun. One of you will fall." Superman descended until they hovered face to face amid the burning sky. "If we don't choose together," he said quietly, "there won't be a world left to rule or save." For a long moment, Black Adam said nothing. Then the creature lunged faster than either of them expected, and the choice was ripped from their hands. What if the moment that finally forced Superman and Black Adam to trust each other was the instant one of them nearly died, proving he wouldn't be betrayed? The creature struck like a collapsing star. It didn't aim for Superman. It went for Black Adam. The entity appeared behind him, its arm reshaping mid-motion into a blade of condensed anti-divine energy, humming with stolen thunder and fractured sunlight. Black Adam barely had time to turn. He raised his forearm instinctively, lightning flaring weak and unstable. The blade pierced straight through. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Black Adam gasped, not in pain, but in shock as the magic anchoring him to the gods of Shazam screamed. The lightning round his body shattered into sparks, his strength evaporating as the creature twisted the weapon and pulled. Not blood but power ripped from him, siphoned into the creature's core. Superman felt it like a scream inside his skull. "Adam." He moved without thinking. Superman slammed into the creature at full speed, driving it away from Black Adam and into the upper atmosphere in a trail of fire and broken clouds. The two vanished into space for a split second, then crashed back down like meteors, tearing a canyon across the desert. Superman landed first, skidding to a stop, chest heaving. He turned just in time to catch Black Adam as he fell from the sky. The ruler of Kahndaq hit Superman's arms like a fallen statue, heavy, limp, lightning gone. For the first time since arriving in this universe, Superman felt fear without armor. Black Adam's eyes fluttered, unfocused. His voice was barely a whisper. "Do not let it rule." Superman lowered him gently to the ground, placing him against a shattered stone pillar. He could hear it know Black Adam's heart, struggling, the magic sustaining him fraying like a torn thread. Clark pressed his hand against Adam's chest, feeling divine energy leaking away. "This isn't how it ends," Superman said, more to himself than to Adam. "Not like this." The ground shook again. The creature rose from the canyon, armor now glowing with deep gold and electric blue. It was stronger, more complete. It had learned how to hurt them. "One god broken," it said calmly. "One remains." Superman stood, slowly, deliberately. The air around him ignited as he drew in what little sunlight remained, his cells burning brighter than they ever had in this universe. His cape snapped violently behind him, eyes blazing with restrained fury, not hatred, but resolve sharpened to a blade. "You wanted a choice," Superman said, voice echoing across the ruins. "Here's mine." He looked back at Black Adam, unconscious, vulnerable, human beneath the god. "I protect this world," Superman continued, turning back to the creature. "Even if it never believes in me." The entity tilted its head. "You will die alone." Superman smiled faintly. "No," he said, "I won't." Behind him, faint at first, a single spark of lightning flickered across Black Adam's chest. Then another. The magic of Shazam stirred, not responding to command, but to something else entirely. Belief. But the creature sensed it and surged forward. the ground collapsing beneath its weight as it prepared to strike. Superman, with everything it had learned, Superman took one step forward to meet it, and somewhere deep inside Black Adam, the gods began to answer again. What if the gods of Shazam didn't return to Black Adam because of rage or pride, but because, for the first time, someone else was willing to die for his world? The lightning came back wrong, not violent, not explosive. It returned like a heartbeat. A low, steady pulse of blue-white energy crawled across Black Adam's chest, spreading slowly through fractured veins of magic that should have gone dark forever. Superman felt it before he saw it, a shift in the air, a pressure easing, as if the universe itself had taken a careful breath. He didn't turn around. He couldn't afford to. The creature was already moving. It struck Superman head-on with the full weight of its evolved power. The impact folded space, driving Clark backward through layers of atmosphere until the sky burned around them. Superman caught the creature's arm mid-swing, muscles screaming as anti-divine energy chewed at his invulnerability. His boots dragged furrows through the air itself as he fought to stop the momentum. "You persist," the entity observed, voice calm, almost curious. "Even knowing your death will feed me." Superman gritted his teeth. "Then choke on it." He released one hand and drove it into the creature's chest. The blow didn't send it flying, but it hurt. The core flickered, destabilized by something the entity hadn't calculated. Superman wasn't drawing power to win. He was burning it away. Below them, Black Adam gasped, his body arched violently as lightning surged back, in not tearing through him, but rebuilding him. The ancient gods' voices returned, not shouting commands, but murmuring something unfamiliar, approval. The lightning traced new paths, reinforcing what had been damaged, adapting just as the creature had, but with purpose. Black Adam's eyes snapped open. He saw Superman in the sky, locked in a losing battle, burning himself alive to buy time. And for the first time in centuries, Black Adam felt something twist painfully in his chest. Regret. He rose unsteadily into the air, lightning stabilizing with each breath. His voice was hoarse, raw. "You should have let me fall." Superman heard him and laughed, even as the creature slammed a knee into his ribs, cracking something deep inside. "You don't get to decide who's worth saving." The entity recoiled suddenly, sensing the change behind Superman. It turned just in time for Black Adam to strike, not with thunder. With restraint, he wrapped his arms around the creature from behind, locking its limbs, channeling the power of Shazam inward instead of outward. Ancient runes burned across his skin as he forced the magic to bind rather than destroy. "Now," Black Adam roared. "Before it adapts again." Superman didn't hesitate. He flew straight up, dragging both of them with him higher than before, beyond the dimmed sun, beyond breathable air, beyond where the creature's calculations had ever gone. His cells screamed as solar energy vanished completely, replaced by cold and vacuum. This was it. The creature thrashed, armor cracking as it struggled against Black Adam's binding grip. "You cannot kill me without becoming what you despise," it hissed. Superman closed his eyes. "I don't have to kill you," he whispered. He turned damned not at the creature, but at the tear in reality that had brought him to this universe in the first place. A fracture still humming faintly with dimensional instability. "Adam," Superman said, voice strained. "Trust me." Black Adam hesitated, then tightened his grip. "Do it." Superman flew straight into the fracture. Reality screamed. The creature howled as its form began to destabilize, power unraveling violently as incompatible universes tried to tear it apart. Black Adam felt the pull ripping at his magic, threatening to scatter him across existence itself, and Superman felt something terrifyingly final. The fracture started to close. With all three of them inside. What if crossing between universes didn't just tear space apart, but forced Superman and Black Adam to confront the one future neither of them could control? The fracture was not a tunnel. It was a wound. As Superman hurled himself into it, reality peeled back in layers. Time, matter, magic each screaming as they were torn loose. Colors bled into concepts. Sound became memory. Superman felt his body stretch across impossible distances, every cell in rebellion as the laws that defined him began to fail. He was no longer falling forward. He was being unwritten. Behind him, Black Adam roared in defiance, lightning flaring wildly as the gods of Shazam strained to keep him whole. His grip tightened around the creature, muscles locked, refusing to let go even as his magic bled into the void. The entity screamed not in pain, But in fury, "This is not death," it hissed, form fracturing into shifting "This is exile and I will return." The fracture began to collapse. Superman saw it then, clarity cutting through the chaos like a blade. The rift wasn't closing behind them, it was closing around them. This universe was rejecting the intruder, but it would take something else with it. Something anchored to the breach, something Kryptonian. "Adam," Superman shouted over the tearing of existence. "You have to let go." Black Adam's answer was immediate, damned, absolute. "No." Lightning wrapped tighter around the creature. Ancient runes burning across Black Adam's skin as the gods poured everything they had left into him. "This monster dies forgotten," he snarled. "Not free." Superman looked at him, at the king who ruled through fear because hope had failed him, at the man who had just chosen to risk eternity so his world wouldn't burn. And Superman understood. He changed course. Instead of fighting the pull, he embraced it, redirecting it. He wrapped his arms around Black Adam and the creature both, shielding them with his own body as the fracture collapsed inward like a dying star. His cells ruptured under the strain, solar energy flaring violently as it was ripped away, scattered across realities. "Superman!" Black Adam shouted. Clark smiled faintly. "Protect them," he said. "Teach them they don't need to fear you forever." The fracture sealed. Silence. Then Black Adam slammed back into the desert outside Kahndaq, lightning exploding outward as he hit the ground. The shockwave rolled across the city, but when the dust settled, the sky was clear. The darkness was gone. The ancient prison beneath the sands lay silent once more. The creature was gone. Superman was gone. Black Adam rose slowly, scanning the sky, fists clenched so tightly the stone beneath them cracked. For a long moment, he said nothing. The people of Kahndaq emerged cautiously from shelters and ruins, looking not to the sky but to him. "What now?" someone whispered. Black Adam turned away from the heavens. Far beyond this universe where sunlight meant nothing and magic could not follow, Superman drifted through a colorless void, strength nearly gone, consciousness fading. He was not alone. Something ancient stirred in the darkness, and it had been waiting for a sun to fall into its domain. What if Superman didn't fall into nothingness, but into a realm where hope had already failed, and something far worse was waiting to claim it? There was no sky where Superman drifted, no ground, no stars, just an endless, ashen expanse where light dissolved the moment it tried to exist. Clark's body moved on instinct alone, muscles firing weakly, lungs burning despite the absence of air. His senses so reliable, so absolute, trade nothing but echoes of places that no longer were. Even time felt fractured here, stretching and collapsing like a dying heartbeat. He tried to draw in solar energy. There was none. Pain followed immediately, not sharp, but hollow, a slow, creeping emptiness as his cells began to starve. This wasn't kryptonite. This was worse. This was a place where Superman was not meant to survive. "So the sun finally falls," a voice murmured. The sound didn't travel. It simply existed inside him. Superman forced himself upright, hovering inches above the colorless ground. Ahead, the darkness bent inward, forming a towering silhouette, vast, robed in shifting shadows, its shape never fully settling into one form. Ancient eyes opened within the void, burning with a cold intelligence that predated galaxies. "You are not a god," the being continued, "yet you carry yourself like one." Superman clenched his fists, steadying his breath. "Where am I?" The entity smiled, an expression that bent reality around it. "Between endings, where universes discard what they cannot contain." Superman felt it then, the truth pressing down on him. This realm fed on broken champions, on legends erased, so reality could heal. The creature he and Black Adam had fought hadn't been banished here by accident. It had been sent home. "You fought to save a world that will never know your name," the entity said, circling him. "You sacrificed everything for a king who rules by fear. Was it worth it?" Superman staggered, dropping to one knee as his strength bled away. Images flashed in his mind, Kahndaq's people watching the sky. Black Adam, standing alone beneath it, the fragile peace that followed his disappearance. "Yes," Clark whispered. Every time, the entity stopped. For the first time, it seemed uncertain. That answer, it said slowly, "is why beings like you are dangerous." It raised a hand, and the void responded. Chains of living darkness erupted from the ground, wrapping around Superman's limbs, draining what little energy remained. Clark cried out as his vision blurred, consciousness slipping. "Stay," the entity commanded. become fuel, become legend without consequence. Superman's head dropped, then faintly he heard it, not a voice, a choice, a memory of sunlight on Kansas fields, of a world that believed in tomorrow, of a man who had learned to late that fear was not the same as strength. In Kahndaq, Black Adam stood before his people, lightning calm at his sides. He looked at their faces, no longer terrified, but uncertain, waiting. And for the first time, he did not command them. "I was wrong," he said quietly. The words sent a ripple through reality in the void. The chains around Superman cracked. The entity recoiled. "No, that world has already chosen its king." Superman lifted his head, eyes burning not with solar fire, but with something deeper. "So did I." Light defiant began to form within him, not drawn from his son, but from belief, from sacrifice remembered, from a hope that refused to die just because it was alone. The void began to shake, and somewhere between universes, something impossible was about to happen. What if hope could burn brighter than a sun, even in a place where light itself dared not exist? Then the sheer force of that hope could challenge the rules of a universe. Superman rose, slowly at first, suspended in the gray nothing. Every muscle screamed, every cell begged him to surrender. But somewhere in the depths of his being, a memory from Earth ignited a hand reaching out, a child looking up with trust, a world that believed in heroes. He focused on that spark, concentrated it, allowed it to feed every fiber of his alien physiology. The void recoiled. Darkness that had felt absolute now warped, bending against him as though it could not comprehend a force it had never encountered. Faith made flesh. The chains of shadow crumbled, pieces falling away into non-existence, hissing as they disintegrated. Superman clenched his fists. The airless nothing seemed to vibrate with sound for the first time, resonating with the rhythm of courage. "You are stubborn," the entity said, voice trembling slightly. It had never encountered resistance like this. "You are unfit for this oblivion." Superman's gaze hardened. "I am more than unfit. I am necessary." Every word echoed with weight, carrying the authority of countless worlds he had saved. The void twisted, trying to absorb him, to erase him, but he burned brighter than it could comprehend. Light pulsed from his eyes, hands, and chest, forming halos of heat and energy that refused to be contained. Behind him, the memories of Black Adam's actions, the sacrifices, the lightning, the restraint flared in Superman's mind. For the first time, he understood fully. This was a man shaped by fear, hardened by centuries, yet capable of courage when the world truly demanded it. And in that realization, the gap between them narrowed, even across universes, even separated by the void. Superman could feel the faintest heartbeat of alliance. The entity surged, tentacles of shadow lashing out like storm-drained serpents. Each strike, faster than thought, each blow designed to unravel Superman's body and spirit. But with every attempt, Superman became brighter, stronger, more defined in purpose. "I will not fail," he whispered. "I will not let you consume everything that believes in tomorrow." A sudden motion startled him. Through the chaos of the void, a crack of light tore open a reflection of Kahndaq. Black Adam, fully restored by the gods of Shazam, lightning, blazing eyes fierce, stood atop the palace ruins. The king raised a hand not in command, but in understanding. "I stand with you." The void entity recoiled. "Impossible. You cannot act from two places at once." Superman's lips curved in a faint, determined smile. "You forget," he said, voice carrying across the expanse. "Hope is not bound by space." Channeling every ounce of solar energy, every ounce of mental focus, every ounce of the humanity and alien strength within him, Superman expanded outward. The void buckled. Shadows shrieked as he pressed forward, driving the entity into itself. Chains snapped, armor cracked, the stolen power faltered. The being that had consumed gods began to unravel from the inside, its perfect structure failing under a force it could not calculate. The pull of the fractured universe grew stronger, threatening to drag Superman and the entity together, back into nothingness. But then a burst of golden lightning split the void. Black Adam had acted. He struck from the Kahndaq side, sending a surge of Shazam's divine energy through the fracture, anchoring Superman's essence and channeling it into the entity itself. Together, Black Adam shouted, voice cracking but commanding, "We end this." Superman seized the opportunity. He wrapped his body around the entity, forging a shield of light and hope. Black Adam's magic burned through it like fire through paper, And in a final, impossible crescendo, the two forces, alien sunfire and ancient divine lightning, collapsed inward, striking the entity with absolute inevitability. The void screamed. Reality trembled. For a single heartbeat, it seemed the universe itself would break. Then silence. Superman opened his eyes. White light bathed him. The nothingness was gone. He hovered, exhausted, over a still desert, the pale glow of dawn filtering through clouds. Below, Black Adam landed, chest heaving, lightning dancing faintly around him, not in aggression, but in alignment. For the first time, they looked at each other without suspicion. No words were necessary. They had faced the impossible together. They had survived it together, and far below, Kahndaq awoke. People emerged from their shelters, staring upward at the sky. Sunlight catching the edges of clouds, the city scarred but unbroken. A ruler who had once demanded fear, and a savior from another world, had returned something even greater than life, the possibility that hope and power could coexist. Superman looked toward the horizon, feeling the pull of his own universe, still calling him home. Black Adam stepped beside him, lightning flickering in agreement, a quiet acknowledgement that some bonds even between sun and thunder could transcend worlds. Black Adam said quietly, "They will remember this day." Superman nodded. "And I will remember you." With one last glance at the rising sun, Superman ascended, leaving Kahndaq behind, not abandoned, but stronger than before. And Black Adam, for the first time in centuries, allowed himself a thought that was not ruled by fear or fury. Perhaps the world doesn't need to bow forever. Perhaps it just needs a protector who believes. The sky burned gold on white. The desert hummed with latent power, and the universe, momentarily, felt whole again. The clash of sun and thunder had ended, but the memory of it, the proof that even gods could fall, rise, and cooperate, would echo across worlds for eternity. The story was over, but the legend had only begun. The end.